What's up, everybody? Super late. I know, but it is Easter Sunday. And we were doing Easter festivities, and my son was really getting into it, so it just became about some family stuff, you know, just sort of embracing the holiday, embracing the day, and time got away. So more late than usual, but you know, that's just, it's a holiday, guys. Give me some grace. But we're here for 11:46. It's that time. Oh yeah. Mars is 4 now. Yeah. Let's see. Page counter. Look.
What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
Almost a half an hour late today, so some people probably dropped out or don't realize that we're streaming yet. So hit that like. Maybe they'll know that we're here. My guy Luke said finally making it on time for a stream. Hey, that makes one of us. Oh, man. Luke, you're more of a white beard than me, man. Shout out to Lydia for rejoining at Heat on Feet. We did have a lavish bracket dono that came in much earlier. So W's in the chat for Veronica, who said, "Hi Randy, you and Dak cooked." Speaking of the theory that Dak Saki and I did last week, Veronica said, "Hopefully you didn't spoil all of us about Blackbeard. If he is the opposite of Luffy and Emu is the final baddie, then shouldn't he be totally defeated by Emu and completely fail in his plans?" Hyped for 11:46. So during the Daxaki Theory for Theory, we started talking about dark mirrors of characters and how it's, you know, it's important for Oda to have these reflections in the villains. And we started getting into the ideas of like what a third devil fruit for Blackbeard could be. Could it be you know, and then it was brought up in chat, you know, like, what if he gets the devil fruit? And then I said, well, everybody in the among the Straw Hats is embracing this sort of devil identity, so what if Blackbeard is the opposite and he actually gets like an angel fruit? You know, and then it's like, you know, sort of playing with expectations, because Blackbeard's obviously the villain, but if he has the angel fruit, you know, like, what does that do? But what Veronica is saying here is that you know, basically the sentiment here is this, would that neuter Emu in a way, and basically suggesting that Emu defeats Blackbeard, which isn't a bad, you know, it's a subversion, right? But it may be, you know, but now that we're talking about it, you know, like, is it an obvious subversion? Because basically I think what they're trying to say is, what if Emu defeated Blackbeard instead of Luffy? And does that take the steam out of this like expected Blackbeard fight, like it's been set up for the whole series, blah 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 blah, and then you get to it and you never get that fight because Emu takes him out. It kind of reminds me of all those theories that came up over the years of like Shiryu defeating Mihawk, and then in order to become the world's greatest swordsman, like Zoro would have to fight Shiryu instead. That I don't like because it's like directly tied to Zoro's dream, so I don't think that that's ever going to happen. But I don't think I would be too upset if like a situation like this happened. I would still want some sort of confrontation between Luffy and Blackbeard, but if Emu is the final baddie and they take out Blackbeard, maybe that's fun for the story. So that was a donation that came in before the stream started that I wanted to address. Getting into the chapter, though. We've got chapter 1146, Motion in Stillness. We've got Ulti jumping up and accosting Yamato, while Tama and Pepe and Minatomo, I think that was the guy's name, they're all onlooking. So let's see, we've got, this is the Pilgrimage Volume 31. We've got 31 of these already. So much has happened. That's par for the course with a lot of these cover stories anyway. I'll never forget the debt I owe you. I'll be your follower for life. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Make sure I got chat up on the side. Neon Roger said Theory for Theory was great. Appreciate that. And also, shout out to Safama. Haven't seen you in a while, man, but it's good to see you. And yeah, maybe Yamato never joins the crew and just gets a crew of their own. That might be the way we go. All right, so page 2, we're getting into the actual chapter here. We're picking right up where we left off, which makes the most sense because it was like an immediate cliffhanger that needs to get addressed. Gunko landing on the ship. So we've got Usopp. Hey, who are you? Jinbei, I'm guessing it's ... Does Jinbei know about the Holy Knights? Nami, an intruder. One of the human intruders who the castle guards couldn't handle. Okay, Gunko's aura farming here has their devil fruit out at the ready. You're the ones who are kidnapping the children, then. You dare call me a human? Okay. It's interesting. I wonder if that's saying that they are of a different race, or if this is just playing into the celestial dragons are above humans aspect. And then we have Brooke with a big question mark, further tying these two together. Putting them side by side is telling us that there's going to be a little bit of a story here, as we know from her listening to Soul King songs. Next page, we are gods. Okay, so this is the I'm better than you mentality. Like, I'm not human because humans are lesser than. Usopp gods, you sound like Enel or the Celestial Dragons. Okay, so we got our first mention of Enel in the canon of, I don't know, probably since Skypiea. I don't know if Enel was ever actually brought back in dialogue after Skypiea. I can't remember a time where they've ever mentioned an L outside of Skypiea, but it's the only place that I could think reasonably that it would make sense is if they saw Big Mom's lightning and called it out, but I don't think so. What would gods want with the children of Elbaf? Yeah, what she said. Those are my friends. Step, step, step. Where are you taking them? Give back my friends. Okay, one of our, favorite overplayed themes in One Piece. It's always about getting back your friends. Hold your tongue, boy. Okay. Skipping over to Ripley running away with her Frankie action figure. We prefer a simpler method, but at that size, our options are limited. Did they defeat the Zeus lightning cloud monster? Looks like it. Looks like Frankie did. Okay, so Frankie did a shot a cannon, a beam at him. Lilith and Bonnie are rejoicing. Good to see Frankie being capable. Alright, back to the boat. So they'll just have to walk. We will take them to the Holy Land via an appropriate route. Huh. Wonder what they mean by appropriate. Whether that's the circle or if they have to physically transport them. The Holy Land. Okay, so stating the intention outright here makes me feel like they're going to get a win in some way. Because it's in front of our guys, they've heard it, they know what the plan is, so then they'll be able to formulate a plan of like, okay, we've got to go to the Holy Land now. Cone Killer said Frankie's out here low-key stealing Scopper's girl. That's right. Saeed reminded me that in a previous chapter, they had talked about how they cannot transport the kids because they do not have the Mark of the Abyss. That's right. That's when we learned about that. So appropriate route means that they have to physically travel them. Next page. Are you a celestial dragon then? What? You mean those ugly, annoying... Wait. You don't look like the ones I'm thinking of. Hahaha. I suspect it's something above that. The Holy Knights. Alright. Brooke knows what the Holy Knights are. This old man better start talking. The very same. Does that mean you're capturing all those kids that turned them into slaves? Okay, the arrow is going after Usopp. What's this arrow doing? We'll do no such thing. Zeus. Did you call for me, Nami? Why does it keep chasing me? Get off. Thunder Shark. Okay, we got a named attack from Nami. This is new. Thunder Shark Tempo. I like this. This is fun. We're getting creative here. Huh? Okay, so the arrow is pointing it back at Nami? One day the world as we know it will cease to exist. Or so we thought. So we thought? What the hell does that mean? Run, Nami, look out. Wait, did Nami seriously just get electrocuted on the next page? That's wild. Oh, it's Brooke. I was saw the skeleton, I was just like, what are we doing? I see Dak in the chat. What's up, man? Okay, so Brook took the hit. He's fine. We're getting pops to Clover, Olvia, and Vegapunk, but whose POV is this? So this is Gunko talking about, so one day the world as we know it will cease to exist, or so we thought, but a small number of humans realized it and warned the world of the danger. Okay. Usopp, feeling a hint of bravery, aims his Kabuto at Gunko and shoots one of his skeleton pop greens. Bullseye. You thought we'd be intimidated by celestial dragons? Okay. Big talk from Usopp. Thanks, Dak. Hope you're doing well too, man. Whoa, what are we doing here? Is the arrow fruit a Logia? Wait a second. You didn't have to be so gruesome, Usopp. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow your upper half off. What? I felt bad for her, but the way she's regenerating is really gross. You're right, it's really creepy seeing someone come back to life. What the hell? What are we dealing with here? And now it is unstoppable. No one can stop it. We're not going to get an explanation for what the hell just happened? How is an arrow fruit a Logia? Or is this some sort of emu abyss sort of ability that is unique to the Holy Knights? Sort of like how the CP9 had the 6 powers. Everybody in the Holy Knights will be able to regenerate without having a Devil Fruit, which opens a lot of questions, by the way. I mean, obviously she has a Devil Fruit, but I mean, like, mixing the properties around, you know, we're getting into some Willie Gallant territory here. I had a feeling. These arrows are pointing towards the targets of her attacks. Dak said it's the same thing as the Gorosei, I think, at least. Yeah. We've got this one, Usopp. It would be the height of folly to take a hit as predicted. The countdown has begun. Okay, getting Enel's game vibes, talking about countdowns. A vast war will ensue. We've got double page spread here. We have Dory lopping the head off of this. Is this like a basilisk type thing? I don't know, some sort of bird. And which side the giants pledged their allegiance to? Wow, we got a very Luffy style Loki here on the bottom. He has engorged himself. Well, I'm reading out of order here, but that's also because I'm reading it on Manga Plus with, like, not really looking at it. Let me open up Viz so I can see the full double page spread and read it correctly. A vast war will ensue and drag the entire world into it, and which side the giants pledge their allegiance to will have a profound effect on the outcome of the war. The whole world at war? That would never happen. So you're trying to seize control of Elbaf in preparation for it by taking children as hostages. What a cheap coward. Okay, so now we understand their motivation. I perform my duty as commanded, but it could all be for nothing. The lives of a few children might as well be trash to me. I do not understand the concept of hostages. What's wrong with you? You got a few screws loose? I'll fight you. Okay, so here goes Colin. Page 11, so now we're on 12. The arrow goes around him, and he has now been captured. 5,000 brick. We got named attack from Brooke. Gavote. Oh, she made Brooke and Jinbei hit each other. Then we got a named attack from Gunko called Aloe. Wow, Jinbei like just punched Brooke's head straight off of his head. Oh, the things you can do with a skeleton man that you can't with other people. And Brooke drew blood from Jinbei. So this is fun. Arrow goes for Nami. Gunko kicks Nami. Okay. Arrow goes for Usopp. Usopp gets a knee to the face. Okay, Gunko's popping off. This is what we need, though. Like, these characters aren't dangerous if they don't completely wash, like, all of our crew. Alright, so... Next page here. How's it looking? You all set up Killingham? The means of communication are so inadequate in Elbaf. No kidding, but it seems like every village and important facility has its own transmission tool. No, Principal Tusk! Not Principal Tusk. Oh man. Okay, so as expected, Colin is he's getting captured as well, because he's gonna like I said the past couple of weeks, if the kids are getting captured, then so will he, because he is our like main kid. Like, he's the one that needs to be our POV. He needs to be the focal point. He's what gets Scopper Gaban like involved in the story, and he's the one that Luffy needs to rescue, because he is the mirror of Luffy as a kid. You know, literally, because his introduction scene was just chapter 1 with Shanks, so Luffy needs to have that moment where he saves this kid in the same way that Shanks saved him. The only thing that I wish we got, though, was a little more of him hanging out with Luffy. That's the problem here, because it's like, it's never gonna feel as earned if Luffy, like, you know, not that he would lose an arm, but like if he, like I've predicted, like loses an eye, you know, or gives up something to save this kid, it's not gonna mean as much, because we didn't spend the time that we did with Luffy and Shanks with Luffy and Kalon. But anyway, next page. Corner, nice, hard corner. I'm confused what's going on here. So he's throwing Tusk into a corner, and he's like just speaking about it. It's weird dialogue. I can't move. So we got Ange in the back. Not looking nearly as messed up. Yes, that's because your body has been slumbertized. We got this giant snail here. It's this big one, right? I've never heard of a transponder bilpug. Try talking through the transponder snail, Summers. This should send it across all of Elbaf. Alright, I'll give it a shot. Next page. Is this a double? Yeah. Okay. So we got Summers here. He is in front of Saul, who is... He's looked better. Yeah, he's almost down. This is the guy who should have died at O'Hara, the former Vice Admiral. Huff, huff. Robin, Chopper, don't come out. Stay hidden around the back of my head. Saul. Are they really just gonna... Nah, I need Chopper and Robin to try and go off. Like this is... Don't... Nah. Alright, well, whatever. Let's continue. You gotta help rescue the children for me. You gotta. Come on, fall forward. And down he goes. Gee-ha-ha. And then he lands in a face full of spikes from the thorns. Robin is enraged. Come on, let's go Demonio floor. Schools, libraries, what kind of peace-loving nonsense is this? People are warriors. You're gonna use the vicious, violent power that once terrified the world in service to us as mercenaries. Isn't that right, King Harold? And then stupid Harold had to go and screw it all up. I wish this was like leaning into a flashback, because that would be like the perfect way to like just transition us, but okay, so soft confirmation that Harold was ready to broker a deal with the world government and then changed his mind, or his death is what stopped that. And I'm leaning more towards that he was brokering the deal, but it was his death that screwed it all up. Shout out to my guy Yamil, member for 47 months, said, I hate how Robin and Chopper are sitting out the fight. I do too. I feel like it's out of character. After everything that happened in O'Hara, with Saul like sacrificing himself for her, right? What you would want to show the growth is like, no, Saul, I got this. I'm gonna protect you this time. And that's not what we're getting here. It feels like a character regression. It feels Usopp coded in a way. It kind of reminds me of when Robin got turned into a doll, and then Usopp, had his character regression and started, like whining and running away from the battle. And then everybody was like, well, all of his character, progression was because of Sogeking and Eni's lobby, and if he doesn't have any memories of Robin, then he would be, a scaredy cat again. And I'm like, all right, I get that. There's an element of that, but it's still, it was never addressed by Oda. Like it could have been a smart thing if it was on the page, but that's still just to this day the forums were talking about that, but that's an unconfirmed theory. This, you know, I mean, I just need Robin to just pop off. Like you can't keep hiding her, and literally like hiding her. Like, this is exactly the type of fight that she should be having, because she can't touch this man in the first place, right? All of her hands will go through the spikes, and she will like hurt her own hands, right? But that's the best moments of One Piece are moments like that. Luffy punching through Don Krieg's cape, right? Nami letting herself get stabbed by Doublefinger so that she can get the final hit. What I need now is Robin to punch through a bunch of thorns to get a big hit on Summers. Like, I need a Gigantesto Mono, like, just, I needed like a Gear 3 punch from Robin with like a million hands that goes through a ton of spikes that leaves her super bloodied, but she gets that hit. So, but I guess what Oda's doing is he's getting Saul out of the way so that hopefully the next chapter or whatever does deal with this. Because here's the thing, right? The whole other crew got washed by Gunko. The whole other rest of the crew. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, like, hey, you know, like, that's its own thing. They don't even know that these guys exist yet. Chopper and Robin are going to have to put up a fight, and they too will likely lose, but I gotta see them. I gotta see them do their thing, you know? I want Guard Point Chopper to come back and, like, you know, protect Robin from the thorns, or, you know, that actually would be a pretty cool team up if Robin did a gigantic fist into the thorns, but use Guard Point Chopper as like a buffer to protect herself, but it's still like the punch would still go and affect Summers in some way. That would be pretty interesting. Or would it just soften the blow for Summers? Like, I don't know. I just want to see more team ups. And what's fun too is, like, we don't see a lot of Robin and Chopper in the first place, so seeing what their team up could be like is kind of cool. Demonio Floor, Monster Point Chopper, Monster Point Guard Point. Like, we've never seen that. Can he do that? Let's see what chat's saying. Dax said, I get Robin not doing anything just because she is prime kidnapping material, but Chopper just tanked an attack right from Saturn. What are we doing? Grow up. That's what I'm saying. Like, that whole tag team against Saturn was great. The Guard Point protecting from the poison and all that. That's the Chopper that I need to see. You know, this is the Chopper that memes are made of. Brandon said, the one thing I don't like is that Robin didn't try to help defend Saul. People have made the argument that she didn't because the government traumatized her, which I can almost buy, but no. We're like, I understand all of that, but it's like, we should be at the point of the story where we're past all of that. Like I said earlier, it should be a thing where it's like, it's payback time. We've processed all of this. Like, that's what Eni's Lobby was about. We've had 2 years, it's like, now it's time to, it's revenge, you know, it's payback, it's there's a lot of things here, and hopefully that's the way that the story is going, but this is a stutter step to get there. Dax said, I think the key to beating the regen powers is going to be love. That's why Oda is making the Gods Knights and Gorosei so hateable. Only Luffy would find a way to love them. Seen this theory, and I believe I'm going to need that unpacked a little more. You know, I mean, it's throughout the series, like, you know, working together and their bond is what, you know, gets them through things in the first place, but so there's always going to be an element of that, but if we're going to like quantify love as like a thing, that's what I gotta figure out. Old Green Knees, appreciate the super, said Captain All Straw Hat got number of chapters for joining except for Chopper and Robin. At some point they will get them, so is this the setup for a side quest? Robin did get one, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like, didn't Robin get one after Ennie's Lobby? Wasn't there a chapter where it was like both Usopp and Robin, and it was like the 4th and the 7th or something? I remember there was. Remind me, chat. Like there was one chapter that was 2 numbers, and it was like implying that, like, you know, like Usopp and Robin were joining, and then and I may have the numbers wrong, because it might be like the 3rd and the 7th. Right? Is Usopp considered the 3rd, or I'm sure chat's already answered. Let's see. But the Chopper point is a good point, because I can't remember a Chopper one, but let's see. Wheezy Bird said, I don't know why Randy always assumes something won't happen because it didn't happen ASAP. Well, Wheezy, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I always assume that something won't happen. I mean, that sounds sort of negative. I mean, I'm always like trying to, you know, come up with scenarios and things that can happen based on like what's there, you know. So it's like, at the end of the day, like, you know, ever since I started this channel, things that I've been saying about this series is like, a lot of issues that people inevitably end up happening is when they start thinking about it week to week and not by like volume by volume, which is more like how Oda like really structures everything. But it's not that I'm saying that we're not going to get Robin and Chopper versus Summers, because I even said, based on the fact that we got Gunko fighting all of the other guys and beating them, we're going to get that. My issue is the half step and the stutter step to getting to that point with this Saul business and like them hiding. I'm not a fan of, from a character development standpoint, Robin and Chopper hiding inside of Saul instead of taking a stand. I'm not saying that they're not going to fight and take that stand. That's probably the next chapter. Most, you know, it's very likely that that's what we're going to get. I just am saying that I think from a character development standpoint, I would have preferred Robin saying, hey, Saul, you protected me, let me protect you. we may even still get that because Saul is obviously not dead, so there will be an element of Robin having to protect him. But it's one of those things that's probably just gonna come next week. Brandon said, exactly, she should be at the point that defending him is just simply the action she takes. That's all I'm saying. Dax said, Scopper said he was the Minister of Love. Or whatever. Last arc we had that whole rewriting the physics books about the power of love, and maybe Kuma's running on love since he's basically dead. I mean, at that point, we're quantifying love. I would need that, like, really explained, though. Old Green Knees, Super Again said Frankie is 7, Robin and Chopper would be 5, 6. So then it was probably like the 3rd and the 6th was the name of the chapter or something. And then I think Frankie had his own, the 7th. Roadstock, super appreciated, said, is the arrow fruit Gunko has the superior version of the Mark fruit? Will Zoro versus Gunko because he is the perfect matchup? He can't be misdirected. That's funny. I at some point I still want Robin to fight Gunko, because there's like the grapple abilities that she has, I feel would be like really interesting against that. But it's also a good matchup against Summers because, you know, you're putting her up against a character that she can't really touch. And that's the thing. Like, I just want to see Oda challenge our characters more with characters that are deliberately built to oppose what their own abilities are. You know, like Zoro not being able to cut steel, fighting a guy versus steel. Like, you know, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. You want to see like that kind of stuff get overcome. So you want to see Robin go up against someone that she can't hit, or that just makes it really, you know, difficult for her with what her abilities are. Both Gunko and Summers provide that. But if, let's say, Gunko isn't going to fight Robin, then Zoro could be interesting. And I would love to see like something like that actually get played out. Like, oh, he can't be misdirected. That would be like the equivalent of I'm always negative. Right? He's like fighting Gunko. It's just like, why isn't it working? And he just goes, that's my secret cat. I'm always lost. That's a funny thought. Dax said, I think love is just positive hockey. Maybe Joy Boy's rope was love because it was meant to protect Emeth. Like, it was a good version of hockey. So I like the idea of there's, you know, like good and bad hockey. Like, that makes sense. And we've definitely seen that on display. Like, obviously with the, I've been saying, like, this Abyss stuff, everything that they're doing is like some form of advanced hockey. Because that's our power system in this world, so it has to work that way. Um, but there's also, you know, this element of like, if you can think it, you can do it. And it's like, if you just believe that you can regenerate it, maybe that's all you need. Sophomore said, I used to watch you, Randy, when Chrissy was pregnant with Mars. He's 4 now, which scares me. Sophomore, I remember. You put all the like the compilation videos together back in the day. Don't think I've forgotten, man. Neil said, what wins, Paw Paw or Arrow Arrow? That's an interesting fight, too. I feel like Gunko would be able to redirect the paws, though, is the thing. Or, because the paws are potentially intangible, like, I don't know what their state is. You know, like, does it have to... Can she redirect projectiles? Because she didn't with Usopp. So maybe that's her thing, is like, she can redirect things that are held on someone's person or physical attacks, but maybe she can't redirect things that are in the air. So in which case, Usopp would be an interesting opponent for her. Although I still want him to go up against Killingham. But if that's the case, then like all of the paw-related attacks would work on her. So we'll have to know. We'll have to find out. Like, did she just get caught off guard and let that happen? Or is that actually... Or did we just witness her weakness? Dax said, I want Usopp versus Gunko because what if her arrow points one direction, thus being her prediction, and Usopp predicts the opposite, and it becomes a fate battle? Well, hey, you know, Usopp fights all the little girls, right? So maybe that's actually what we're gonna get. So it's a possibility. Old Greenie has said, I feel so unseen. I see everybody. At least I try to. Dimi said, since Nami developed a liking for Cologne, it would make sense that she goes after Gunko to help him. Well, Nami's always going to want to help the kids. So that's just her thing. So she's like, it's going to be a thing where like, we're going to have her all is lost moment where everybody's been defeated in one way or another. The kids have been kidnapped. They're at the Holy Land. And Nami's going to be the one that speaks out and says, we have to get them back. And they're like, but we just got to Elbaf and we want to have fun. No, they're going to be like, yeah, we got to go get them kids. So... But then, right as they're like about to set off and save the kids, maybe somebody else shows up and makes things a little more difficult for them to actually leave. We'll see. Crush said, I think she can only redirect stuff that has a soul, which is why she didn't redirect either of Usopp's attacks. Okay, so she can't redirect inanimate objects. I mean, I buy that. I don't think we saw her using her ability on an inanimate object. So Lucas White said Gunko versus Paw Paw Vivi end of series. Don't think I didn't think of it when I was saying it, but I just didn't want to go on a Paw Paw Vivi tangent. Dak said, also, here's more love reasoning. Lola. Loki is blind. He may have fallen in love with her because he sensed her positive presence, like Fujitora at the end of Dressrosa. He teaches love hockey to Luffy. Laser said, I see you, Randy. I see you, Blaze. Dak said, I'm really maxing out these characters in each message. Loki may not actually be blind, but his eyes have been covered. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe. I mean, we'll see, Dak. We'll see, man. That's the whole message of One Piece. P-A-C-E, love. Peace and love. Safina said, how's Eddie been? You know, I actually I tried calling him yesterday, and then he called me back, and we were playing phone tag. I gotta call him today. But he's been good. He just released some new music, like, I don't know, in the last week or something. Brandon said, also forgot to mention, Randy, but the TCB translation for Gunko's line is important. She says, the world was simply meant to vanish one day. That's how it was supposed to go. I mean, that's definitely a different way of saying what was said. And that goes harder. I like that. Old Green needs to go on a Paw Paw VV tangent. That's why I come back every week. I don't know what more I can say that hasn't already been said. Crush said, I've seen a lot of people here and on Reddit assuming the God's Knights all have the regen power. What do you think? At this point, I think it's CP9 and the 6 powers. So everybody in CP9 had the 6 powers. You know, maybe someone in the God's Knights is like Nero and is still, you know, only, you know, knows some of them or something like that. But I would, at this point, I would think it would be correct to assume that they all can do this. Because otherwise, it's like, how do you, you know, it's like, it's a good question. How do you beat these guys that regenerate or something? And then it might be a thing that, like, no, guys, you all need hockey, you know, and then we take a little mini time skip. They have to learn hockey in order to beat these guys, you know. Maybe that's like, that's what I would love. If we're gonna shoehorn Scopper Gaban into this arc, then, you know, I want a moment where, like, everybody gets taken, everybody's hot, fired up, they want to take on the Holy Knights, and then Scopper walks over and he's just like, hey, I didn't tell you who I was before, but look, this is who I am, and I'm an old man now, and I don't know if I can get my kid back. I need you guys to do it, but if you're going to do this, then I gotta tell you some things, and I have to teach you some things. And what I'm going to teach you is going to, you know, help you win when you get back to them. And then, you know, like, that makes things fun for me. Like, I eat that stuff up. I like that. So that's what I want to see. Dax said Loki fell in love at first sight, yet can't see. I mean, hey, I'm on board if it's that. Bring Lola to Elbaf Oda. There's a chance it happens. Saeed said, no, it's not observation. With Gunko's power, he also literally saw the arrows and where they were pointing. And he saw Luffy carrying the boiling cup of soup, plus multiple other instances. Yeah, I mean, there's something going on with Loki, and, you know, we just gotta let Oda play it out until we find out exactly what it is. Luke implied that TCB called the slumberization sleep paralysis in their translation, which I mean, is a real thing. It makes more sense, and people can understand what it is. But hey, slumberization. Next time my leg falls asleep, I'm gonna be like, damn, my leg is slumberized. My leg is slumped. Brandon's dropping modified lyrics in the chat. Heard Huey Lewis in the news? Yeah. Dak said, I would imagine Loki's observation is better than Fujitora's because he's way older and has been blind longer as a result. Way older? Well, it's Fuji in like his 40s, and Loki's 63, so I mean, he's at least had his eyes covered longer, probably. Probably had his eyes covered as long as Fuji's been alive, so I guess that makes sense. Malik said, I haven't heard slumped in 15 years. Yeah. I'm just unlocking things today. What's up, Vern? Neon Rogers said, I'm just hoping the Yamato cover story is almost done. I told Dak less than 5 covers left is my guess, but 5 to 10 covers make sense. Has anyone ever gone through and sort of found an average number of the cover stories? Because that could be like a fun way to check. Going through and seeing if the median is like 38, 42, like something like that, and then we'll figure it out. Saeed said Fuji's 54, so he's not way older than him. He's less than 10 years older than him. So Grand Line Review already did that count, so the average is in the mid 30s, so that's good then. So then we're sort of at the end, which fits for me because it's like we're getting to the climax of this Holy Night stuff, right? All of this stuff is going to come to a head pretty soon. And if Oda wants to tie the Yamato cover story into what's happening in the present, then, we could have our all is lost moment where everybody gets beat up by the Holy Knights. They get put into the ground. Feels like the archipelago in some way, which is a dark mirror because we have Gabon here instead of Rayleigh. And then we cut away and everything lines up with what's happening in Wano, and, Blackbeard and Pizarro show up to unearth Pluton or something. And it's like, while the Holy Knights are busy talking about this world war and how, the world was supposed to end, we cut to, some other characters getting a hold of the ancient weapons that are going to help facilitate that vanishing, so-called. Vern said, definitely getting the feeling that we're gonna get rocked by the Gods Knights here. It's not fun if we don't. Like, we have been pretty much steamrolling for a while. And it's like, even with Luffy getting beat a bunch of times by Kaido, like, he was still coming back and everything, and but it's like a complete total loss hasn't happened in a really long time. And something like that is needed at this point. It's been needed for a while in order to garner real change in the story, in order to elevate our characters, to inspire them to get better. Why is the end of Alabasta so good? Because Luffy got stabbed with by Crocodile, and he had all his lost moment. He rallied back, he came back, and he beat Croc. Like, it's great. Why is the Archipelago so good? Why is it always in people's top 5? Because we got put in the ground. But why is Return to Sabaody so good? Because we took 2 years off, came back, and then completely flexed on the thing that put us in the ground. So it's like that's people are always like, why do you want the crew to get beat all the time? It's like, because it just makes the win sweeter. I don't want us to win everything. I want us to get challenged and then win. I want us to earn that win. I want to see the suffering so that when we really triumph, like, it means something. Brandon said, going with the Archipelago parallels, maybe the next cover story is Frankenpunk's adventures on Witheria. And perhaps he goes to the other timeskip islands too. Frankenpunk, yeah. I had to think about what you were talking about. Yeah, that maybe. I mean, that has to tie into something. Dax said, we're definitely nearing the average length of cover stories. Cool. Longest is like 55 or something. Whose cover story was 55? Let me think. Man, 55? I can't even remember which one was 55. I can't remember which one was the longest one. Caribou has the longest? That's crazy. The funny thing is like, if I had to, guess, I probably would have said Caribou, but even in my head, it doesn't feel that long. What I like about Caribou is that when I think back to cover stories where I feel like something actually happened, Caribou is one of the ones where I'm like, you know what? This actually told a story. As Cone Killer Confuser says, oh, the Caribou story was the definition of pointless. I mean, it got Caribou to Wano and all that, but it showed us, a little bit of an uprising. It kind of fleshed out a little bit of a world, and I don't know. I like the Caribou cover story. Dax said Decks of the World was 55 chapters. Yeah, that feels more right. But I wouldn't necessarily consider Decks of the World like a cover story, but I guess it is. 00 Flevin, super appreciate you, Flev, and said, everybody's saying a Rouge this and L that, and I'm waiting for the real GOAT, Black Cat, Captain Kuro of 100 Plans to return. You know, I still always go back to the theory that Kuro was like a either like he grew up on the island that Cypher Pole trains on, so that, you know, Shakshi was actually Fast Step or Soru, or, you know, something like that. So it's like he was basically using, you know, the 6 powers against Luffy at Serum Village, and that has always sort of sat with me like, you know, that's something that's pretty cool, and I wish that got. That's one of those theories, like if I had to make it like, you know, like a thing of like 10 theories that would be fun if they were true, like that Kuro one would be up there for me. Like, it doesn't move the needle of the story, it doesn't change a lot or whatever, but it's just a fun fact. And like, he breaks away from the government island and the pressures of becoming a, you know, a government agent, becomes a pirate, and then decides like, all right, I just want to, my whole life has been dictated for me, so I'm gonna go pretend to be this butler and then just sort of live off this girl's money. I don't know, like, it's one of those things that just makes Kuro more interesting to me than, hey, I was a pirate and then no, I don't want to be a pirate. Kuro of 1,000 chapters later. Kuro said, in terms of cover stories, do you think some of them will ever be animated? If, for example, an space adventure is important to the story, surely they must animate it. Yeah, it feels like if, you know, we get to a point where, like, Enel comes back or whatever, then the anime will do what it always does when they realize, like, oh, we probably should have animated this, and they will spend an episode, they will break up Enel's, like, return with, previously, this is what Enel was up to 2 years ago. And they'll animate all of it. But the problem with it is, like, you know, they animated the Kobe one, they animated the Buggy one, and then they got such low ratings for the Kobe one that they never did the Django one. I think it's like crazy, given Ace's popularity, that they never like animated the Ace one and created like a little bit of a filler thing for that. And then as the story sort of grew in popularity and got to a point where it was like the ratings are consistent no matter what, then they started like animating a few more here and there, but they never did the Baroque Works one. Everybody just somehow shows up in Impel Down, you know what I mean? Like, that's all fun stuff. That, like, if there was anyone that I would really love to see animated, it's the Baroque Works one. The, you know, the Golden Week one and everything, and, you know, getting back Mr. 2 and you know, saving Mr. 3, all that kind of stuff. But it would be, it'd be bittersweet now seeing it because it wouldn't be Kazuki Yao, so. And that suit, that pink suit that Bon Clay has during that cover story. Drip. Certified. Brandon said, I remember during the Hachinosu raid, they animated a small scene showing Vegapunk's cover page where he invented GP flowers just so the reader knew what it was. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. So, you know, it's like, that was a situation where, you know, whoever was writing the episode or whoever was directing the episode read the manga and knew enough to be like, oh, let me put this in there. So that was cool. And then Aokichi freezing Cracker, yeah. But that was that was confirmed to be a situation where like they wanted to establish that. But that was also one of those rare instances where it was like you kind of had to animate that one. Like the GP flowers they could have gotten away with and like not explaining, but it's like putting just randomly being on the on with Blackbeard, like it happened so concurrently with that cover story and then leaning into the actual chapter that Toei was forced to animate that one. And I kind of hope on Oda's part that it was like a ploy to like get Toei to start animating these things, that he put something like extremely important on the cover story. So Broadstonk said, if Wit doesn't animate the cover stories, I'm going to lose my mind. I mean, like, that's the opportunity to do it. Like, do it. Doing a whole remake, like, fix the problems. One of the problems is you stopped animating the cover stories. And it would be really interesting if, like, the stuff... Like, if you don't want to do a thing where you're just... going, you know, spending an entire chapter going through the entire thing, right? Break it up. Make it a B story. It's just, you know, while, you know, in between that overnight area where they're, you know, waiting for, to fight the Black Cat pirates or whatever, like, cut to Kobe and Helmeppo, and then come back to the story, then come, you know, at the end of the arc, cut and show us like what Kobe's up to, and it's like kind of structured in a way like the live action did by like going back and forth to these things. You get to the Django part, it's like we just sort of see what Django's like. That's the fun that they could have. I don't know if that's what they're doing. I don't know anything about what's happening with the Wit project at all. But if I was, you know, like doing a remake or something, that's how I would structure it, so that it doesn't feel forced, like, oh, we can skip this episode. No, you ingrain it into each episode, so that it's something there. Shout out to Monkey D. Jordan, appreciate the super. Said, for me, the best low-key interesting part of 1146 was Brook knowing about the God's Knights. He definitely knows more than Oda lets on. Maybe he was the leader of the battle convoy. And went to a reverie. So we know a little bit about Brook's past before he became a pirate. Not enough to, you know, really have anything concrete. Brook has dropped hints throughout the story, like here and there, that like as a 90-year-old man, like he knows some things from the time period where he wasn't on a ship for 50 years. And it's like, I immediately called out during the read, you know, that he knows about the Holy Knights. And that's a cool thing, because the other thing about that is that it gives us a timeline. The Holy Knights are not new. We know that they were a thing 38 years ago, but Brook knowing about it means that they were a thing more than 50 years ago also. So this is a thing that's just, it's been going on. Dak said, was Brook's island cleansed? Like, hey, look, I'm ready for a Brook 2.0 flashback. Like, if his island was cleansed and he had a whole, you know, like, thing happen in the, you know, when he was in the West Blue and everything, could all of the Rumbar pirates be, you know, like survivors from one of the games or something? You know, can it get there? Can it get crazy like that? Leon Roger on this like Brook thing said, "Do you think we get Brook's story? He's nostalgic for schools, knows the gods' nights. I always thought Brook was from the same island as the musician Slave at the archipelago. Byron was his name." I want more on every character, and Brook he's got a whole life that we've never seen. We've never seen Brook as a kid outside of just an image of him as a kid. Like we've never had his child flashback. We've never seen 8-year-old Brook and learned about all of that. And there's definitely a story there if Oda wants to tell it. Like Sanji got 2 flashbacks. Will Brook get 2? Will everybody get more than 1 flashback? Like I'm on board with that. Like flesh these characters out, Oda. Give me everything. But Brook going to a reverie also, like I think it's a possibility, and I'd love to see that reverie. Think about all the kings and different things that we could see. You know, maybe we'd see like Wapple's grandfather, or you know, a young Wapple's dad. I don't know what that would even be. You know, see a different Alabasta king or queen from, you know, like 70 years ago or something. That'd go crazy. And like he was just there, like Dalton and Chess, Korimarimo, Chaka, all of that were there. So I'm on board for that. Like, it would be cool if Brook has been to the Holy Land. Like, he's never said it, but he's been there. So that when we do get to the Holy Land, he's like, it's a lot different. You know, it's a bit different from when I was here. But I know that, you know, like, he starts directing everybody. Like, we got to go this way. You know, Vivi's not with them or something. Arian said, we love you, Troy Boy. Appreciate that. Irene Sharda Forever said, I think Harold might have made a deal or have been forced into one and then tried to fight against the world government by educating his people. He very deliberately made a school, library, and hid the O'Hara books. There's a possibility of that. There's also a possibility that he was making a deal with the government and then Loki and his people found out about it, turned against him. They wanted to remain closed off, killed him, and then just the act of killing him ruined the deal because he was the only one that was, quotations, sensible enough to work with the world government. Like, sensible being the word that the world government would use for him. But there's also an element where he was trying to make a deal and then O'Hara happened, and then he started reading the books and he learned about what the government was going with, and then, to what Irene is saying here, hid the books, everything went against the deal. And, you know, maybe it wasn't Loki that killed Harold at all, and it was the government. You know, like, we need these twists. We need the truth, and the truth will reveal itself at some point. But it is fun to talk about these things. Like, I at the very least, we got a soft confirmation that some sort of a deal was made and something happened that stopped that deal. We don't know if it was Harold getting a conscience and learning about the misdeeds of the government through the books or something like that, or if it was just his own people, Loki, Ja Rule, turning against him. Vern said, Randy's slightly off topic, but have you seen all the videos from the live action actors? Yeah. I've been sharing them and everything. I think it's a great marketing thing. Everybody gets to see the actors and all that. Love that. Who hasn't had one yet that you want to see the most? Out of the ones that haven't been done yet, I mean, they've already done a lot of my favorites, but I guess Korea, that could be fun. I'm sure they did one of that. A lot of people talking about Yorkie in the chat. I don't think Yorkie's dead, or at least he didn't die from that disease, which I think was tree fever. I think he landed in Amazon Lily and got healed, and was at God Valley and was a member of Rox and is Luffy's other grandfather. But, you know, that's all in a video. The Artem said, where can I see the videos? They're all on One Piece Netflix's social media pages. Twitter, Instagram. Matt B said, going one step further, Rox is Luffy's other grandfather. That theory's been around for a long time. I like that, but I actually like his grandfather as being Garp and Yorkie. Like, if Yorkie was Luffy's other grandfather, then it makes so much with Brook, you know, like pledging his life to his like best friend's grandson. And if Yorkie was the man marked by flames, and then like you have, in order to figure out like how to get to Laughtail, you have to talk to the guy who was introduced to us by the Crocus, the man who told us about Laughtail. Hey, that's full circle storytelling, and that I always want that more than anything. Matt B said, 1000% Luffy's other grandfather has to be a famous pirate, and that's why Whoop Slap was bugged out. Yeah, look, the Zebek other grandfather stuff is it's interesting. I've never not liked that theory. It's just when I went down the Yorkie rabbit hole, I was just like, I like this. There's too much evidence for Yorkie being alive. He's connected to too many other things relating to Luffy. He was the first flashback character introduced to us in the Grand Line. It's like, he's got to come back in some way. I'm going to take one more look here at the chapter, and then, you know, it's Easter, so I think I'm going to wrap things up. Let's see, we've been going for an hour and a half already, so it's almost like I'm not even really ending early. If you guys have a couple more things or whatever you want to talk about, drop it in the chat, and then that'll be it. All right, so we had Gunko here. I didn't talk about this yet, but I am a little disappointed that the Soul King and like Brook stuff did not come up between Gunko and Brook at all. I am glad that, you know, she didn't like fangirl over Brook, but I feel like having that in the, you know, the past couple of chapters, or, you know, or was it all consolidated in one chapter, for it not to come up is a little misleading, I guess. It was good to see Frankie do something, even if it was like kind of off screen. Thunder Shark tempo, great attack, love that. The regen fake out, you know, I mean, that kind of stuff never gets old. You know, you love it. But the way that they do it is so much creepier than a Logia doing it also. Fat Loki's funny, furthering the parallels between the two of them, Luffy and Loki. Loved all of the crew getting beat by Gunko. That's good stuff. Ange as a traitor, you know, the needle's not really moving with this chapter. And then I feel how I feel about Robin and Chopper hiding in Saul, and I'm hoping that it just gets rectified at the next chapter or two, that they stand up and fight and also lose like everybody else, but put up a good fight. And then a little bit of a hit to Harold there, so it was good. Luke said he doesn't have his outfit on. How could she have known he was Soul King? Well, if she's familiar with the Straw Hat Pirates, she would know that Soul King Brook is on the crew. She would probably have seen wanted posters and all of that, and she knew that Luffy was here. I imagine she would know that Brook is the Soul King and is a part of Luffy's crew, and if she sees a skeleton on his crew, like, it's probably, you know, transitive property, but Frankie being used as a gun, best moment. I just love how she's carrying him like an action figure. That's my favorite part. Panic Pikachu, they said it could be a Perry the Platypus joke. Doesn't recognize Brook without the glasses. Did Gunko have glasses? Oh, you mean the Soul King glasses? That's funny. Yeah, because on his wanted poster, he's got the glasses. So this is Clark Kent, you know, Superman situation also. Ian Vargas, do you think the other Strayats are as famous as Luffy is? I would think that Gunko would know that Soul King is a Straya, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I mean, definitely like Zoro and Robin are super famous, and Jinbei is super famous. He's a warlord. And then Sanji, probably not as famous, to his chagrin. Like, he would not like hearing that, but he's got a huge bounty, but he's always on the sidelines, so his notoriety isn't like as high, I would think. He's still number 3 on the crew, above Jinbei, no matter what the bounties say and all that stuff. And then Soul King is popular like outside of being a pirate. And then I think everybody else is like, the average person probably wouldn't know who they are. Monkey D. Jordan said, feel like Whoopsap knows most, if not all, of the lore. That man is... He can't, like, stop yapping about how much he knows but won't tell us. man was at God Valley. That's not a real theory, but I mean, he acts like he was. Crushnaut says Sanji's famous, but just as his comic book alter ego. See, that would have been the better progression of like his character arc. Is that if Sanji didn't get a bounty poster upgrade, but Stealth Black got one, like that would have been fun. That's what I wanted after Wano. Aether said the Sanji downplay in 2025 is crazy. And don't add me to that either. Like, I love Sanji. Sanji and Zoro are even. Like, power scaling, all that kind of stuff, like they are even. But when it comes to notoriety, like, I just feel like more people are aware of Zoro. Zoro was famous before becoming a Straw Hat in the first place. So that's just what it is. But that's gonna wrap things up, guys. I'm gonna run. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, rest of your holiday. Have a great week. Are we on break? I don't know. We are not, so we will be back for 11:47 on Sunday. So, thanks, guys, and everybody. Take care. I'll see you soon. I will, Vern. Right back at you.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.